Howdy, Ags. Howdy, Coach. I'm doing great. Jimbo Fisher Show, presented by Capital Farm Credit. Live on location here at Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road here in College Station. And great to have the head coach of the Fighting Texas Aggies with us, Jimbo Fisher. And what's going to happen when you win, Coach? That's what I want to know. Look at this crowd here.
Well, it's about we need to figure that out real fast. I know that.
Your general thoughts after last Saturday's game against Clemson?
Disappointed, very frustrated. I mean, kids played hard, played tough, but didn't play well enough to win the game when they needed to be. And we got to coach them better. And should have very easily won the football game. Had critical mistakes and some base mistakes, and got to play better. Point blank. Got to play better. Got to perform better. Got to execute better. Compete better. Everything.
Coach, are those correctable mistakes?
Every mistake's correctable. It depends on your mindset. If your mind's right, you can correct them. If your mind's not right, you don't correct them. And you got to look at yourself. I mean, good, bad, and different no matter what you do, because good enough is never good enough. And till you instill that mentality, it's going to be hard to ever win a championship, and that's what we're in the process of trying to do right now.
I asked you before the first game, what'd you learn about your team from camp, and after the first game, what'd you learn about your team after the first game? And I mean, I know I'm getting paid to come up with better questions, but you keep learning more and more about your team, aren't you?
You do, but it's 2 games. It's still no matter what you've learned, it's just a very small portion. What you got to create a habit, and we'll see what sustains and what doesn't sustain. If the good things that they've done is something that they'll go away from, and the bad things are something they'll work on and improve. And the personality of them will keep growing, but hopefully that we'll keep finding more and more out of the right things. But like I say, there's a lot out on us right now, in my opinion. I mean, even though we played hard and all that, I'm anxious to see what we do this week, how we play the next week, how we don't look over this week, play the next week. No matter who you play, it's how you play. And until we develop that mentality, we'll never be where we want to be. And that's where I'm anxious to see this week.
We'll get more on Louisiana Monroe. That's the opponent on Saturday at 6:30 at Kyle Field. But the peak there is this is a 2-0 Warhawk team coming in that gets a very nice road win at Southern Miss.
Southern Miss is a very tough place to play. Got great tradition, great players, always has. They're averaging over 460 yards a game on offense. They have a receiver who could play for anybody in America. They have 3 or 4 other skilled guys that are really good. The quarterback's dynamic, can beat you with his legs, beat you with his arm. Defensively, I know the defense coordinator who was on staff with us is an off-the-field guy when I was at LSU. Great coach, been around coaching his whole life. His dad was a legendary coach. Constant blitzes, pressure, what he does. And then in the return game, the receiver who I was talking about had 4 returns last year for touchdowns. You have 4 returns for touchdowns as a returner in a season. That's quite remarkable. So we will have our hands full. This is a 2-0 team that's playing very confident. They've won 2 very tightly contested games against some good opponents. And the team they played the first week, they beat 34-31. LSU beat them handily last week, Southeast Louisiana, but the second half was 200 yards to 70 yards in favor of Southeast Louisiana over LSU. So this team we're playing will be a very good football team.
And when we had spoken, I said week 1 to week 2 is such an improvement week, and you said, well, you got to improve 2 to 3. 3 to 4, 4 to 5. This week becomes that important.
They do. I mean, everybody. I never where that really ever came from. Everybody used to say you proved the most between first and second week. So that means after the second week, you're never getting any better. I could never figure that out. It didn't make any sense to me. But it is. You have to grow and you have to get better in so many different situations throughout the year. And more importantly, your mental capacity to compete and your toughness and understanding how your body feels and how hard it is to grind. And like I say, the teams that embrace the grind get better every week. Mm-hmm. The teams who don't embrace the grind will get better early and then they'll quit. And that's what I'm anxious to see what our team does.
He's the head coach of the Fighting Texas Aggies. That is Jimbo Fisher. I'm Andrew Monaco, and this is the Jimbo Fisher Show. Presented by Capital Farm Credit. We're at Rudy's at 504 Harvey Road. You can also catch us. This is where I go to the camera. Facebook Live and on Twitter at Aggie Football for both. I should have kept my makeup for when I work with the Spurs. I could be much better on camera. And all along the Aggie Radio Network, we are so glad you are with us. We're going to step aside. First, let me tell you, AT&T is a proud partner of Texas A&M Athletics. More for your thing, that's our thing. Much more to come on the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show presented by Capital Farm Credit. Stay with us. We're coming to you from Learfield. Aggies took the 3-0 lead on Clemson. Daniel LaCamera hitting that 40-yard field goal, one of the 2 field goals that he hit. As we continue with the Jimbo Fisher Show, presented by Capital Farm Credit, we are live on location at Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road. We are on Facebook Live. We are on Twitter, along the Aggie Radio Network. We have a check-in from Sulphur Springs, home of Larry Pryor. I love that they're connecting 2 players.
Yep.
And the winner right now, the clubhouse leader, is Seattle, Washington so far. We played this last week. Hey, I want to remind you, football and barbecue lovers know the perfect brisket needs the right wood. Rudy's smokes all their meats using their delicious signature rubs in 100% oak-fired pits. Get your real Texas barbecue fix today at Rudy's or on the web at rudys.com. With Jimbo Fisher, the head coach of the Fighting Texas Aggies. Jimbo, I couldn't help but think to myself, and I asked Dave Elmendorf, my partner on radio, as we're watching the game, we saw a lot of Aggies, whether it was receivers or Kellen Mond, kind of grow up and mature right in front of our eyes during that game on Saturday.
There's a lot of young guys, offense and defense and everywhere, and even special teams that are getting their first taste of real live action where they're being really counted upon, and the guys are growing. I mean, we're getting better. We have some mistakes, but they're learning to be consistent. And what it takes to play, not just play, but more importantly, prepare to play. And I think that's where young guys don't understand the grind that goes into football at this level. And what I mean is, all right, I did it that week and I had a great week. Okay, Monday I got to do it again. Next Monday I got to do it again. Next Monday I got to do it again. And then everybody, and I call them today, they want the instant gratification. They all want, boy, you're doing a great job. Oh, no, you're doing your job. Right. And we ain't got time to pat you on the back 24 hours a day for doing your job. And that's part of growing up. I mean, in this generation today, I mean, they all want that. They want everything to tell them how good they're doing. We'll tell you, but I'll tell you when you mess up. How about that? If I ain't talking to you, we'll be good. No, I joke with them, but it is. With those young guys, that's the challenge we have right now is embracing each week that how much you have to prepare to play. No matter we played the first week, the second week, now it's the third week. It'll be the next week, the fourth week. And that's the big part of, and now some young guys really have talent. There is some very, very young, talented guys on that field that are making plays, having fun. And they're doing that because they're practicing well. And it's amazing when you practice well, you play well, and trying to relate that and, and make them understand that there's a consistent cause and effect process that goes on, and we're getting there.
Starting to see some of that chemistry between quarterback and wide receiver, and I'm thinking Kellen Mond to Kendrick Rogers was so effective. Did I hear today that Kendrick is really 6'5"? He's not 6', he just keeps on growing.
He's 6'4", 6'5". I mean, he's I don't know if he's legit 6'5". If you measured him like you would at the combine, he's at least 6'4.5". I would say that legit. And but he's a big guy, and he's catch radius. He's athletic. He's got a bright future. He really does. He can, for a big guy, he can do things that little guys do with his body and how he runs routes and how he moves and things, and that's very rare.
And you can't have, and I know you talked about this throughout camp and even coming here, you can't have just one receiver because the defense can shut that down, but you have so many, it seems, now.
Well, Rogers is playing, but probably the receiver's playing the best of overall is Jamon.
Yeah.
By far. I mean, Jamon does everything. You're talking about blocking, route running, getting guys lined up, leading, setting guys up. The other guys are making a lot of plays, but Jamon is definitely the leader of that group. And the physicality and how he practices every day, the way he goes about his business every day, he sets a tone for those guys. And he's really brought those guys along, and then they've listened. I mean, now they're doing a tremendous job. Q's doing a great job and out there playing. You saw Buck starting to make plays. Rashad's catching punts and doing a great job in that regard. And some of our young guys will keep developing. So, as long as we keep that leadership going there, we'll be in good shape.
And when you see a player like Jamon accept that leadership role, that's part of the maturation process as well, isn't it?
Exactly right. I mean, he has really grown leaps and bounds as a teammate. You know what I'm saying? And understanding how to affect the other guys on the team. And that's what I'm important. We can play well, but how are we affecting guys? Is it leadership growing in the team? Is the personality, the culture, and the guys that they're following, are they doing the right things daily? And right now it seems to be that way, but we'll continue. Because like I say, this week we've practiced okay, not as well as I would like. I still think we need to practice better and prepare better. But, those other guys are pushing those guys to get there.
Were they mad? Were they mad they came up 2 points shy on Saturday?
Yes, they were. I mean, they seemed to be out because they know I was. I mean, because and if you're not, there's something wrong with you.
Right.
If you're not, there's something wrong. You could listen. You have to tip your hat. You lose. You move on. You got to process. That game's over with. We can't worry about that game. We have to learn from that game and move on. You can't be happy because you had opportunities to do it, and that's why you play. If you ever walk on that field and don't think you can be successful, don't walk on it.
Right.
And there's a part of maturing and growing that goes with that, but you got to trust and have it. Sometimes it's blind faith. how I'm being coached, to what I do, and the abilities I have, that I have to go do it. And it'll start clicking in your head that I can do it, and I have the confidence and the levels and the, the physical, mental levels to compete at this level. But, it's a mentality. It's just the way you got to think.
Still more to come here on the Jimbo Fisher Show, presented by Capital Farm Credit. We want to tell you that Capital Farm Credit, together, we're better. Again, this Saturday, 6:30, Texas A&M and ULM, the 6:30 kick at Kyle Field, and we will get our pregame started on the network at 5:30. We will step aside, come on back here to Rudy's, more of the Jimbo Fisher Show, presented by Capital Farm Credit from Learfield. Farm Credit here at Rudy's. Terrific turnout. Thank you so much for being here again on this week. Thanks for joining us along the Aggie Radio Network, on Facebook Live, and on Twitter at Aggie Football with Jimbo Fisher. Your day on Saturday was a long day because it began with Midnight Yell.
Yeah.
How about that?
That was amazing. That was an amazing experience. You hear about it, and until you experience it, I mean, that's an unbelievable tradition in history, and it's just remarkable. And anything I can say, you got to see it to believe it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only way you can talk about it, because describing it, people, oh yeah. I mean, till you experience that many people there at midnight doing what they were doing, it's utterly incredible.
Yeah, it was just
I was blessed to be there. It was a great honor, I promise you that.
I see that, and then I turn on ESPN's College Game Day, and lo and behold, you're on that set too.
Yeah.
You were up early, weren't you?
Yeah, we were. We had to get up. We'd always do a little segment for them every time they come and do your games. And I've been fortunate to be on there quite a bit, and being that, it's great exposure for the university, great exposure for the program. And if game day's there, at least something's going right.
That's exactly right. And I think they like coming to Aggieland. I really do.
Oh, they do.
And I think they like showing it off.
Reese and Kirk, and I've known them guys for all over, and all the producers and all those guys, and they do. They say it's a unique experience. I mean, there's nothing like it. They don't experience anything like it anywhere else, and the support. And then, of course, the other night was, I think, off the chain as far as the environment and the atmosphere. And like I say, I talked to Kirk after the game. We talked, and he couldn't believe it. It's just as dynamic as it gets. And, thinks if we keep doing things the right way with the support you're getting, and the fan support, and then, the support from the administration and things are going on. Now we got to do our part and keep recruiting good players and developing good players, and got a chance to have something very special, in my opinion, if we can put everything together. It
was Monday during Jimbo's press conference. He was asked if he could hear everybody, and you admitted with the headsets and the focus, normally you don't, but with almost 105, sixth largest crowd, almost 105,000, you couldn't help but hear a little bit.
We heard a little bit. I mean, you do a little bit, and sometimes you take it out. I get so locked in that I don't know what you do, but the fans and the people, and then watching our recruits and the people afterwards, just saying how they couldn't believe when it rained and people wouldn't leave, they were standing up the whole time. People appreciate the passion that the recruits and the people that makes you want to play for people who care that much for you, and the fans sure do here, that's for sure.
Would passion, I'm not asking you this question, I'm going to ask the crowd this question. Would passion describe Jimbo late in that game after that call? Jimbo, I
might use another word. I might use another word, but Jimbo, I'll stay with passion. I like your word better.
I was getting texts going, I'd give my arm to play for Jimbo Fisher right now. I think that's the day you became a true Aggie, my friend.
Well, you put that much blood, sweat, and tears in something, and you watch those kids play in their hearts, and, hey, I got to tell them, if they can make a call, I can agree or disagree.
Right.
They got their call. I get my part of it. I mean, and it is. I mean, you get them, you don't. Whether you agree or not, you got to move on. And good thing we did. It didn't hurt us. As far as our kid, we come back, got a 3 and out, and moved the right ball right back down and scored. And unfortunately, if we had the points then, it could have really made a big difference. But, we shouldn't have. Don't put it in that situation.
Right.
That's just make sure we don't reach it and do it. And fundamentally, that's my fault. We got to coach them better to not do those things. So we'll figure it out.
I want to rewind. We were talking about your day and the midnight yell and College Game Day and all that. Was that an adjustment for you when you went from coordinator to head coach, all the other responsibilities?
Oh, it does, because you got time management is critical when you can do it. Not just doing a game. Doing the game is not as bad. It's doing the week, to make sure that, you do talk shows like you do this. You have to do this radio. You have to do that radio. You have to do the interviews. You have to still have time to watch film and then make decisions and make sure the defense is on page, the offense, the special teams, and then everything else you do to, but that's all part of it. And, that's what I love, and you always got to do that. But big thing is time management and an organization, and then having great people around you can delegate things to that or get done the right way. and handle your business.
Well, we're thrilled that he is here and has this show as well. It's the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit, live on location here at Rudy's. Tell you that Aggie football is brought to you by Bud Light, proud partner of Texas A&M Athletics, reminding you to enjoy responsibly. We will come back. Much more Jimbo Fisher Radio Show presented by Capital Farm Credit. Stay with us. It's presented by and from Learfield. Kendrick Rogers with that touchdown catch, wearing number 13, and I couldn't help but think Mike Evans flashbacks right there, making those catches. I know Kendrick wears 13 because of Odell Beckham Jr., but also Mike Evans, and again, just that connection between those two and using that height and in the back of the end zone. And whew, that was fun. Kellen made some plays. I know on air, I called him a magician on the one where he rolls to his left and found Q in the end zone throwing back to his right. You always talk about arm strength. He showed a little bit of it there on
he
that
does,
play.
but what he does a really good job of, he keeps his eyes up when he moves. A lot of guys will scramble and their eyes will go down. His eyes stay up as he's, and that's a rare ability that sometimes we can work to a point, but you either can do it or you can. And he does a great job of keeping composure when he scrambles and still can process what's going on and gets the ball back and throw in positions. And again, his feet are very magical, and being able to create and extend plays like that's very good.
Can his feet help him avoid getting knocked down, or lessen that blow a little bit?
Well, it just depends. It can, but at the same time, there's times you got to stand in the pocket. If a guy's coming, ball's got to be delivered. You got to set your feet and make a throw. That's part of the business. That's just part of things that go on in football, and that's when your teammates start respecting you.
Yeah.
I mean, because they're all getting banged and bruised, but people don't realize how physical the game is for a quarterback, because you're absorbing so many shots, and usually from big people that are anywhere from 50 to 100 pounds bigger than you, and you're in a stationary position a lot of times, or an exposed position, and to be able to stand there and deliver those plays. But that's the way the game is, and especially when you're playing a front like theirs. I mean, you're talking about guys that all four of their guys had been All-American at some point, and then first or second team All-American last year, and they're all going to be very high draft picks. So unfortunately, and to be able to create the plays down the field, we had to he had to take a couple shots, and our line, for the most part, I thought played really well.
Yeah.
I mean, they give up some plays, and and there's some balls sometimes that you throw it a hair late or a coverage sack, but he stood in there. One thing Kellen is tough, and he's competitive.
How much of his development has been mental?
All of it.
Has it?
It's the number one thing you better develop. I mean, you can talk about physical all you want. You can develop. If you can't process the information, you can't use the physical. And his ability to process the game, see what's going on, know what he wants to do, and how he has to compete in the game and keep his poise and composure at certain times. And it's mental. That's where the greatest development comes on all players. I mean, you work on the hands, you work on their arm strength, and they do all those things, but they can't use them if they can't process the information and understand what the heck's going on in a game. And he's doing that much better and better every week.
He seems like he's a sponge, Jimbo. Like he wants more.
Oh,
and
he does.
More and
and
more.
sometimes I ride him hard. I was on him hard today, and I was on him hard yesterday, pushing and challenging him. But he takes it. Some guys can't take it. He does, and he likes it. And like I say, I'm very demanding on those guys because. And people say, "Why are you?" I said, listen, every time a quarterback touches the ball, the game's going to change one way or the other. It's going to be in your favor or against you. You have that responsibility, and there's a mental strain and toughness that comes with that and a competitive nature that you can never accept one time that I do it and I'm not ready to play. But his mentality and the way he's been brought up very well, he's got great parents, great people who've taught him very well, and they're old school, I can tell you that, because I'm old school, and he handles me really well.
He really does seem to accept it. He knows it's not personal. He knows it's for the growth and the development.
And he wants to. Kellen loves the whys of the game. And I think as a football player and anything you do, if you want to be successful, you got to understand why you do something, whether it's right or wrong. People, we always know what's wrong, but we never tell them what's right. Because in life and in ball, especially in sports, it's a game of repetition. So if I know it's right, when I have to pull it out again, I can do it if it's the right time. You know what I mean? And I think Kellen loves the whys of the game, and he's really starting to understand them and gets much, much better at them.
Kellen and the Aggies will take on ULM, Louisiana Monroe. That will be on Saturday. 6:30 kick at Kyle Field, and we will get it started at 5:30 with our network pregame. We will step aside. Much more Jimbo Fisher Show to come, presented by Capital Farm Credit. Texas Farm Bureau invites you to visit 12thman.com/maroon contest and register for your chance to hang out on Kyle Field with the Yell leaders at the next home game. Winners get photo ops, game tickets, pregame hospitality, and the chance to get a pregame tour of Kyle Field. Register today at 12thman.com/maroon contest. Much more to come. We are at Rudy's at 504 Harvey Road, and this is the Jimbo Fisher Show, presented by Capital Farm Credit from Learfield. Show presented by Capital Farm Credit continues here at Rudy's. Tony O'Neill is our producer. He is in Jefferson City from Learfield. Tony, I just want you to know that everyone can hear you and they all think you have a terrific voice. So just let you know that. You're welcome. Along with Jimbo Fisher, I am Andrew Monaco. We thank you for joining us along the Aggie Radio Network on Facebook Live and on Twitter at Aggie Football. Tune in to Fox Sports Southwest every Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. Catch the pulse and stay up to date with Texas A&M football. We talked a little bit about special teams. I want to talk a little bit more because Braden Mann, I thought a couple of times, flipped the field against Clemson, and he is such a weapon for you, isn't he?
He's a very talented young man. If he can stay consistent in what he does, I mean, great hang time, great length, great athlete. You saw him go make the tackle on the block field goal. Unfortunately, we had that. That was the two things we had on the special teams was, first of all, the block field goal. That should never happen. That was a technical error that cost us. The guy hit the ball really, really well. Daniel hit the ball really well. The other one, he just missed a short field goal, which is very rare for him. He's a heck of a kicker. He come back and made two others and hit that other one nice. But other than that, Braden was tremendous on his kickoffs. Every kickoff was deep and high, and the ones they did bring out, they averaged a 16-yard average. You know, we had it there, so we're doing a great job there. He punted the ball, like you say, he flipped the field 2 or 3 times and was incredible in what he was doing. We covered well, too. We made tackles. Our punt return game was much better. I thought Rashad did a great job in that regard. And they didn't have any 20, 30-yard returns. We had a bunch of 10 to 14 to 16-yard returns, which was excellent. And he's getting better and better at that, and our blocking is getting better. Our kickoff, I mean, so we had a solid day. The field position part of it, besides the 2 field goals, we controlled the kicking game, which was big in that game, field position.
Rashad is so close, isn't he?
He is. It's getting there. And we're getting there in the blocking and the timing and just getting used to doing it, and very proud of him. And I say it's going to happen. And
Cullen nearly had the block on was it the second to last punt?
Yeah.
I think a fingertip away from
He
a
was
block.
very close. And also, if you think about this, they changed and rugby punted on the last punt and shanked it.
Yeah.
And I think that was due to the pressure we tried on the block punt, which, we almost could have gotten. But at the same time, at least by doing it and putting that pressure, I think it affected the next punt.
You got the stops that you needed in that fourth quarter, didn't you, to to have those drives.
We got the stops and defense played. Except the defense, the weird thing, we had 6 3-and-outs our defense got for us. That's just rare. On offense, we had 2 or 3 ourselves, which is 1 or too many. But they only give up 6 big plays in the game. Now, 4 of those plays were critical. We were in double coverage, and that's why we just got to make the plays. And what happened? We had 14 big plays on offense.
Right.
I mean, out-big played them 14-6. And that's why I say the turnovers were the critical things. But our defense was outstanding, getting 3-and-outs. We got to quit giving up the big plays, especially when we're in great calls. Mm-hmm. And we just got to execute. Again, that's what I kept saying about our team on all 3 phases. We just got to keep the poise to execute those plays when we need to make them. And that goes for me. I'm not just playing players. I mean, as coaches, we got to technically get them in the right position and help them see things a little better and what's going to happen, and help them make those plays. And there's a twofold thing there.
You talk about, I had asked you about chunk plays. So it's 12 yards on a run, 12 or more?
12 and 16 on a
12
pass.
and 16 on a pass. So you have those.
We had 14 of them.
14 against
that's
that
a
defense.
Lot. That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
And really, we're on the inches of having about 6 more.
Right.
And that's why I say we got to find those inches. You always say it's a game of inches, but you're always scratching and clawing for those inches. Mm-hmm. If you can't, you got to find those inches in every play of everything you do, whether it's offense, defense. But if you can, we say, like you said, he was just inches away. He was inches away. Well, inches come with what? Preparation, knowledge, makes me a step faster. The angle, the technique in which I use gives me another half step. And all of a sudden, now that's 3 inches. I make the play.
Right.
And that's coaching. That's coaching them better and being precise and detailed how we coach them and how we play. That's what we got to get out of them. That's what I'm trying to explain to them and get our guys to understand the importance of every day in practice, because what you're doing, when you practice, let's say, well, you practice to get better. No, perfect practice makes you better. Practice, you're creating a good habit or a bad habit when you do something every day. So you got to do it right. And that's a grind. It's not you just come off a hard game on Saturday. You got to do it on Monday. You got to do it on Tuesday. You got to do it on Wednesday. You got to do it. Listen, that's the key to this thing. I keep saying this: embracing the grind of football. There's no easy way to be good, and you got to love it. You got to be a part of it. And then when you start to see the rewards, hopefully it makes you want to do it more and more.
And on this level, if a player doesn't want to do it, there's someone to take his place, isn't there?
Well, there is, and it's unfortunate because it's too competitive. It has to be that way. It has to be that way. And what they're going to learn now, these same qualities, is when they get older, they got a job, they got a wife, they got kids, it's all going to be the same thing.
Right.
I mean, and they don't buy that now, and I was that way too. Yeah. What's this got to do with, me going over here doing this? What's that got to do? It does, because you know what it does? It builds you as a character, as a person. Mm-hmm. You either do things right as a person, or you do things wrong. Yeah. You can't pick and choose what you want to do right. The world doesn't allow you to.
Right.
And hopefully that's what we'll learn.
Much more with the head coach of the Fighting Texas Aggies, Jimbo Fisher, as we continue with the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit. We are live at Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road, and we are from Learfield. Presented by Capital Farm Credits, and we're live on location at Rudy's. A reminder, AT&T is a proud partner of Texas A&M Athletics. More for your thing, that's our thing. Time to, a couple have checked in. We have, right now this is the winner. We had Beijing, China last year. Now we have one from Qatar. There's an A&M campus in Qatar. He's checked in. It's 3:30 in the morning in Qatar, so when you're all the way over there in the Middle East. And Jimbo, I did not realize there's a contingent from West Virginia here tonight at Rudy's. Hello there. Welcome. Howdy. That's awesome.
It is awesome. That's what I was just talking with right there. It was somebody, my mother taught his father in 8th grade.
That's right. I remember you saying your mother, she still teaches, correct?
81 years old, still teaching.
Substitute teacher?
Full-time.
And she's full-time.
She retired at 51 years at 76, and she's been full-time sub every year since.
That is awesome. Jimbo, can you imagine growing up anywhere else?
No, I really can't.
It made you who you are, didn't it?
I love the hills. I love the country. I loved everything about being out there and everything you did. Now, when I was a kid, I might argue at that point all the things we did. But now as I look back at it, I mean, it develops your work ethic, your habit, who you are. And the people of West Virginia were great. They were just real people. I mean, they were down to earth. You got hard-working coal miners, farmers, I mean, just blue collar people who you got what you work for. And I'm glad I learned those roots a long time ago.
When you say that about where you grow up and that they're real people and they're authentic and they're genuine, does that remind you of Aggie Land?
Yeah, it does. Exactly. That's why I feel so comfortable. It is. I mean, I really do. Because how the people treat you, and they say, whatever's on their mind, and they're helpful. That's the other thing about West Virginia people, too. I always thought, when they need help, hey, when you need help, move on. And they helped you and didn't ask for nothing in return and moved on. And someday, you helped each other. And that's the same feeling I've gotten here. Everybody's asked me, how are you, what's good? Not just because you're the coach, but just a genuineness. Mm-hmm. I feel the genuineness and honesty of the people.
Does it make a difference that you grew up with the core values that are here, right? So it meshes so well.
Yeah, I mean, it does. I mean, the people, listen, when you reap what you sow, as I say, mm-hmm. that's the way old school was, and that's the way I grew up. We didn't have a lot, but we had plenty at the same time, and that's just the way it was, and that's the way it is anywhere. You put what you get out of it's what you put into it, and that's why I think some of this world is screwed up right now, because we want more out of it than we put into it. And I know one thing: football doesn't work. I wish it did, but it doesn't work that way.
All the lessons that you've learned, and I said this to you last week, they're not all football lessons; they're life lessons, aren't they?
It's all microcosm of everything. I mean, this is going to reflect into everything. The reasons people are successful in whatever you do, they translate into everything else.
Right.
I mean, it's hard work, it's grit, it's finding details, it's preparing, it's willing to have a passion to do it. And there's going to be ups, there's going to be downs. You don't quit, you keep grinding, and you figure out a way. Yeah. You figure it out. As I say, that's what grit is. You bite your teeth into it, and it's going to throw you up. You're going to be happy. It's going to take you down. You're going to be sad. And in between, you're trying to figure out how to get back up there. And that's just the way it is.
Is it the old Mark Twain line that I didn't realize my father was, I didn't understand him at 16, and then when I was 21, I understood all the mess. And as we get older, we understand what our parents did for us,
The older I get, the smarter my parents are. The older I get all the time, the smarter my parents are. Yeah. I mean, like I tell our players, they'll go to say something, listen, you're 18 to 23. I've been 18 to 23. You've been 52? No. So what happened to the conversation? You haven't been 52. I've been 18 to 23. So just listen. But, something, just like when they told us, and we all sit there and say that, but I ain't doing that. I mean, I'll figure it out on my own. And you do. There's a part of it. But in the back of their mind, if you say it enough, it'll click, and they'll say, something, he's saying that for a reason. And then, eventually it goes in. Some are more hard-headed than the other.
You have former players come back and say thank you to you for the lessons?
Yeah. And some of them say, well, you were crazy. No, they do. But they all understand, because at the end of the day, my old man always said this, worry about when I'm not yelling at you. Worry about when I don't care. I mean, when you're getting on people, you do care, and you see something in them that can come out. And like I tell them, you're trying to coach who they can be as people and as players, not who they are. And you're going to have to get uncomfortable. I mean, if you don't want to be uncomfortable, then don't play at this level, or don't have ambition to be great. Because when you're getting to greatness or whatever you're going to be, there's going to be a lot of time that you're uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. You're unsure. You're getting challenged. You're getting pushed. That's just the way it is. And, as a coach, it's the same way. Coaches made me that way. Other head coach, I'd be mad at him. Hey, why is he doing? But at the same time, now I learn. Yeah. You know what I mean? I see why as I got older, and that's just part of life. That's just life. It's just what it is.
That is Jimbo Fisher. He's the head coach of the Fighting Texas Aggies. And we will continue with the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show, presented by Capital Farm Credit. We are live on location at Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road. We will continue from Learfield. Louisiana Monroe, that will be on Saturday, 6:30, Kyle Field. Week number 3, after the first 2 weeks. We were talking about special teams, and now you made this comment on Monday. How do you keep Nick Starkel after what happened on Saturday? You keep him on that straight and narrow and make sure that can't define what happened on Saturday.
Just tell him. I mean, we put him in a tough situation. We discussed it over there, but I have supreme confidence in Nick. Nick's a starting quarterback. We're blessed to have guys I feel very comfortable can start. And, unfortunately, we missed a block. and he's going to make a throw, and he feels the pressure late, and that's football. I mean, he didn't mean to do that, and the guy didn't mean to miss the block.
Right.
And he was making the right read, going to the right place. Sometimes when the guy's behind you don't feel that, Nick, but I have supreme confidence in him and what he does, and he's had a great week of practice.
It's important, is it not, that focus, and that's another lesson, right?
It is another lesson for him and the other guys too. I mean, like I say, quarterbacking, you get all the glory and all the blame too. I mean, a lot of times when things go wrong, that it's things that you can't control too. But like I tell you, quarterback's like an eraser on top of a pencil. It's your job to you got to clean up all the mistakes. You got to clean them all up, and everybody looks for that guy to do it. And unfortunately, that's a big role. You take everybody else's problems. If you drop back and it's open, you throw it. You drop back and it's covered, you're supposed to do something about it. You drop back and they miss a block, you're supposed to do something about it. You drop back and they fall down on the route, you're supposed to do something about it. I mean, it's part of that position, and it's hard. That's the demanding. It takes special people to be able to do it and respond, because there's going to be a lot of ups and downs with that position. But Nick's a heck of a player, and he's going to be a great player.
There's so much that quarterbacks have to process. I mean, the moment they turn from that huddle, correct, there's so much going through their minds.
There is. I mean, people have no idea, especially in today's game. And we put a little more on than most, because we'll do all the RPOs and all the things that people do, but we run a pro system. He controls the protections. He controls routes. He controls blitzes, sights, run checks. I mean, he orchestrates. He's the coach on the field. He has to see things like I see him, and I have to see the game through his eyes and to help him in that regard. So, I mean, there's a very big mental and not only physical strain, but a mental and psychological strain that goes on the quarterback. And I think that's why you got to build that in practice. That's why I grind on it, because I think you build your mind just like you do your muscles. I mean, the more you're used to concentrating, the longer you can do it, the more you can do it, the more it becomes a habit.
Right.
Because when those things happen, you don't concentrate because you want to. You concentrate because you're trained to, and you revert back to your training. And you have to lock in, and I think you got to train that. And those guys are getting better and better at that.
I'm always fascinated by how that mind works, because you turn, you call the play, you turn from the huddle. You can't press pause there and take a look.
Especially if it gets in late. Especially if it gets in late and the clock's running down.
Yeah.
And we had a couple of those on the sideline the other day. We've got to get cleaned up, and I take responsibility. We've got to make sure they're getting out there quicker. But it is. And then when the ball snapped, does everything change? You got about 2.6 seconds to make all those decisions if you drop back and throw it. And then and some of that, if you play action, about 1.3 of it's with your back turned. So you turn around, and I always tell people this: turn your back to the line of scrimmage like riding down the road in a car. Drop your keys or something, put your head down below the steering wheel and pick them back up. And be right in the middle of traffic when you come up and have to make a decision, right, left. That's what it's like. I mean, that's literally how fast cars cutting in front of you, cars going beside you. And what you think is on the road, like I say, then somebody cuts off. That's what playing quarterback's like. I mean, people are constantly moving and coming out of that. You're blessed when everything happens just right. That happens about 4 times a game.
You have to expect it to break down, right?
Exactly right.
We still have one more segment to go here from Rudy's as we continue with the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit. Make sure you stay with us from Learfield. That's my partner, Dave Elmendorf, and I flat out love him. That was the catch. Brought the game to 28-26. Aggies against Clemson last Saturday. ULM this Saturday at 6:30. And our game against ULM this weekend is brought to you by Be The Match. You could literally be the cure for blood cancer by donating blood stem cells. Text Aggies to 888-111 to learn more. Again, text Aggies to 888-111 to learn more. That's all part of Be The Match. We were asking for questions. This isn't a question, Jimbo, but a comment. We're all praying for your son and the Fisher family.
Thank you very much.
Typical.
Thank you. God bless you.
What you know about it's typical Aggies.
They are. Like they've been amazing. They really have.
Nobody like them. What would you like to see on Saturday and come away 2-1 in a win over the Warhawks?
I'd like to see us come up with the same passion, grit, fire to compete in the game. but also just to play with much more consistency throughout the game and not have the mental mistakes or the critical errors in the key situations, and focus no matter what it is, and play a complete football game from A to Z, and to come out and get started fast. I mean, to get a fast start, finish stronger, and learn to develop that culture and that habit. Like I say, it matters how we play. Like I say, when we play on TV, I want people to say, you know what, Texas A&M's playing. Whether I love Texas A&M, I don't love Texas A&M, I got to watch them. You know what I mean? Because of how they compete and how they play in the game. And then the execution that goes with it. Like I say, effort and toughness and all those things I talk about are great. But at the end of the day, execution's got to come with them so we can get the results we need.
And again, you want ULM to walk off the field saying, we want nothing to do with the
I'm
Aggies
glad this
anymore.
game's over, and I'm glad I'm going back to Louisiana. But I'm going to tell you, they're going to come in here fired up. We're going to have to do that. We're going to have to take it from them because that group will come in here ready to play.
Jimbo, thank you so much. Wednesdays are always special. Thanks for being a part of
Blessed
it.
to be here with y'all. Thank y'all very much.
You bet. Thank you all here at Rudy's for being here. Outstanding evening as well. This has been the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit. As I mentioned, live on location here at Rudy's at 504 Harvey Road. For the head coach of the Fighting Texas Aggies, Jimbo Fisher, I'm Andrew Monaco. Thank you so much, everyone. We'll talk to you Saturday, 5:30 for the pregame, 6:30 kickoff along the Aggie Radio Network. Thanks and gig 'em.